All right, if I could have everyone's attention, please. Welcome to Richmond Senior High School. I'm Jim Butler. I'm the principal here, and we're always excited about being able to promote some of the great things that are going on at Richmond Senior High School, and we certainly feel that our athletic program, and in particular tonight our football program, certainly is a part of that. It's really important that we give kids great education, but we also are looking to always provide them opportunities, and there are opportunities in athletics, in academics, the workforce. There's just lots of things going on, and tonight we want to focus on one of those great things, and that is our athletic program. Made myself sure I had some notes. I want to forget anything. We do have some of our elected officials and folks tonight from our county commissioners. I believe we have Mr. Kenneth Robinette. Where's Mr. Robinette? Yep, there he is. Just you can put it up there big. There it is. We have one of our school board members. I saw one. I may have missed someone. Mr. Wiley Mabe, our school board chairman, is right back here, and
Mr. Tillman's back there too.
there he is. Mr. Ronald Tillman's right back here. Snuck in on me.
Mr. Bryant's here from county commissioners too.
And we also have Donnie Bryant. I didn't see Mr. Bryant. John Gardner. And Peck, there's a lot more people here, obviously, than what I was paying attention to. And we have some members. We have Dr. Rick Watkins here from Wingate University. Gene's pointing out people. Gene's a former state senator, Mr. Gene McLaurin. Anybody's mom or dad? We got some other folks. We also have some members from our central office. In the back right here, we have our executive directors, Mr. Dennis Quick and Dr. Julian Carter, and our superintendent, Dr. Jeff Mabels, right here with us. And we've got a lot of football players, parents, all part of this big program, Richmond Senior High School Athletics and Raider football. So you didn't come to hear me talk. I just wanted to send a welcome and thanks. Glad to have everybody here. And now I'm going to turn it over to Coach Teal.
Like Mr. Butler said, just want to tell you guys thank you so much for being here tonight. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of places you could be, and to invest your time here, we really appreciate it. Just going to quickly go through some bullets here of our PowerPoint. This is really a night where I like to share a lot of the things that aren't necessarily related to the field itself specifically about our football program, and I'm just going, without further ado, move on with the program. Our program mission, I will always probably mention this in everything we do because I think it is so important. It's what drives our decision-making process with our guys, is we want to build championship men first. Best grades, our best ACT, our best effort in everything we do. And we, it's old adage, your best is the standard. We really want our guys doing the best they can in all aspects of life and really striving for those things everywhere. Especially when they leave here, that's going to make a difference in their lives. Weight training, big part of our development, physical development, as well as our skill development. Leadership development, which we just had our first leadership meeting tonight before the guys came up here. And team building from that, trying to draw these young men together, having them hold each other accountable, learning how to work together. And a family atmosphere. It's really easy to say your family, but we all know the difference in true family and who is really our family and the people we can trust versus just the people who say that so flippantly. Earn it, whatever it is. You see whether we talk about these polos these guys got on, whether you're talking about the hoodies, the stripes on our helmets. We want everything in our program to be because our guys have done what it takes to be at their best, done what it takes to earn that privilege to wear that diamond on the side of their helmet, and it should mean that much to them. In short, we feel like if we build championship men here at Richmond Senior, that the championship program will follow, all right? And guys, a lot of these guys are coming in from other practices. You'll see them filtering in. I appreciate their dedication. You'll see some of our guys as they move in. These guys already being here to go ahead and get here from other places too. Proud moments from this last year. Obviously, we did say most of this off the field, but I do put up there the 2018 Conference Championship that we won for the first time in 10 years. Extremely proud of that. Our Leadership Council creation, we created that within the last year, and these kids had a lot of issues and things they had to be really strong with. You think about just the fact that two of our guys didn't get to play their senior year and tore their ACLs, and were still a big part of our program and really positive influences in what we were able to do. Preston Coker, one of our seniors, was also Art Student of the Month, and since then, I've actually had some of these other guys come and show me some of their artwork and the ability that these guys have. It'll amaze you what these young guys all the different abilities they have unless you really delve into their lives and kind of figure that out. Kyle Goodwin was the Beta Club vice president for the entire state. All right, we had PB&J gifts from I'd have people just coming in bringing us food for the kids, and then our county, the help from our county office with generating an after-school food program for, if we're doing some tutoring, we're doing some different things, that our county is actually helping us through some federal programs provide that nutrition, that greatly needed nutrition to have our guys be able to put on muscle weight so that their bodies can continue to develop to their peak performance levels. The R Diamond decal we bought the stencil and put it on the field, and then you talk about things that we're really proud of. We actually had community members come in and paint that for us every week. Now, we had some coaches helping out, and Coach Denson and Coach Schuler kind of helped them get going, and Coach Schuler does a lot of painting on the field. He and Coach Mike Way, who's not even a football coach, but those guys, giving into our program, doing so much with our program, and that diamond, I know, even for me, if you can see on that first slide, the background is it's a aerial photo of the field, and there's the diamond down there. Just even that picture to me brings a lot of pride and says a lot about the Raider football program. How clean that field looks brings a lot of pride to us, and I know the rest of the community. Our team GPA was a 3.19 this year, and we started ACT prep last year, and we've continued it this year with a larger number of our kids going through that. Prior to what we do that with is there are 4 weeks prior to the ACT. We get the date. The date was February 20th this year, and for 4 straight weeks, we do two times a week ACT prep going into that test. 6 players from this past year's senior class are going on to play college ball. Some other guys do have some opportunities there. And we also have, we've provided some camp opportunities. I'm going to go into that a little bit more later. Farm Bureau provided a Player of the Week award with a football for those guys. Our guys went and opened doors at elementary schools in the morning, car doors on home games. We missed out on one game because of weather there this year. Players spoke at our elementary schools within the last year. They've gone to read at our elementary schools. They actually helped this summer. One of our workouts, the last workout of the summer, was a jog up with some push-ups and things along the way. And then we cleaned the signs at the stadium just to have a lot more pride and to really for that to be a big part of our program, not just who we are, but our link to the past and our pride in where we are and what we do. Thursdays, some of you know this, but Thursdays we have some EC students that come in, and on Thursdays in our 4th period weight training, 4th block weight training, those kids come in and they do class with us, all right? And our guys get very involved helping lead those guys, partner up with those guys, doing a lot of exercises. Obviously, some of those things are modified, but our guys are able to help teach, communicate with those guys. They build really strong bonds with them. It's kind of I don't want to say frustrating, but at the end of the semester, when that's over with, you kind of miss that. The second semester we don't do it as much, but the first semester we really build a lot of bonds with those young men and women. Special Olympics this semester, we typically send several guys up who help participate with Special Olympics and help out there, and that's all sports programs here, not just the football program. And then our 100% club last year, which is the number of guys who are here every day in the summer, that 100% club went from 38 guys the year before to 96. And our leadership committee set a goal of 90, and they exceeded that goal, which, again, we're extremely proud of their involvement and their leadership individually. Our stadium grant, you guys have seen a lot of the improvements been in the stadium, shrubs, stadium repairs, and paint. What you get to is when you start painting things, you start really looking at what's going on. You have to replace some wood, some things of that nature. It was a $200,000 grant. We have brand new goalposts. Looking at that, we have $77,000 left, and we're going to, right now, we're looking at the focus is going to be lights and the track at this point moving forward, so that we're continuing to use that grant towards the football stadium. Again, other drainage issues have been addressed with that, and that stuff sometimes you don't get to see, but it's obviously, from a safety standpoint, extremely important. Leadership speakers for our leadership groups. Last year, Coach Jeff Dillman, who's at South Carolina, Coach Charlie Jackson, who was with the Atlanta Falcons, is now at Kentucky State, Coach and Mr. Kyle Balkowski, who's actually here tonight too, Derek Watkins, one of our assistant principals. And while I'm talking about Mr. Balkowski, they actually helped us with our paint machines this past year quite a bit. They're very old, so I think they're 12, 13 years old, both of them. Does that sound right, Coach Schuler? 12 years? Maybe a little older? Maybe even 15 years old. We kind of pieced 2 of them together to one. He sent some guys out every time we needed it to get it taken care of, so nobody could ever tell that on a Friday night that had to take place during the week. And so we just we appreciate that. But he actually was one of our leadership speakers and talking about troubleshooting that with the guys. All right, Leadership Council. So I'm going to take this time right now. This is one of the big things I like to do here and introduce those guys. All right, our returning guys, Noah Altman, you guys stand up and just stay standing, please. Noah Altman, Brian Bowden, Jaheim Covington, Jarrell White, Caleb Hood, and C.J. Tillman. All right, and our new guys this year, we made this decision. These guys helped, and the outgoing guys. Again, we talk about the link in the chain. Guys having a part in it. The outgoing guys helped choose the new guys along with these guys. They nominated guys and started voting. Javon Little, Gavin Russell. DeMarcus actually had to babysit his little sister, so he's not here tonight. Derek Behringer, Austin Hart, and Jacoby Baldwin. Now, they don't know this, but when I have the parent meeting in May, they're probably going to have some different slide opportunities up here to get up here and speak in front of everybody. So I'm giving you guys a few months to get prepared for that mentally, all right? Y'all give those guys a hand, please. Some of them started getting those red streaks in their neck just thinking about that, all right? Getting up here in front of everybody. But those guys are relied on to do a lot of things, and without going into the entire presentation and slideshow that Coach Jones just went over with them, they have a lot of duties for us, and it's a tough position we put them in, but we feel like putting them in tough positions is going to pay off. Our coaching staff, I want to take the chance to just introduce these guys to you very quickly. And varsity offense, Coach Greg Williams, Brad Denson, our offense coordinator. Coach is our assistant head coach. Brad Denson, offense coordinator. Coach Jay Jones, our QB's coach. Coach Andy Schuler, wide receivers. Coach Kempis McSween. Coach, I saw him come in. I don't know how you miss him. He's an enormous human being. Those guys are our offensive varsity staff. Our varsity defensive staff, Coach Hal Schuler is our assistant head coach. James Johnson, where's James at? James, guys, nobody knows this except James, but he's actually I'm going to name him as our co-defensive coordinator going into next year. Did such an outstanding job this year with us coming in with our linebackers. He's been a defensive coordinator before and was great for me to work with this year. And I think he has earned that honor throughout the year, this year. Milton Sweeney, our defensive line coach and strength conditioning coordinator, and Coach Chris Campolita, also our head track coach, and Coach Justin Jackson, right here, also of Richmond Raider lore in some other ways, all right, as a football player. JV, Coach Patrick Hope, Coach Kevin Alfonso, Coach Chris Dennis, and then our ninth grade guys, they get spread pretty thin. I'm going to call their names. I know a lot of them could not be here tonight. They get coach multiple sports as well. Tavon Jones, he's going to be our head ninth grade coach next year. Travis Byers, Julius Bowden, and Tony Terry. The reason I have openings down there is if you look at this, especially the JV area, we're short one coach there. We coached without one. We just overcame it this year because we weren't going to hire somebody just to hire them. We had the supplement, but we didn't find the right fit for that. We are looking for a fit there. We're also looking for one more to two more ninth grade coaches with those supplements. Those are supplements that are already within the budget that we want to get the right fit for there going into next year. All right, so this is kind of the part of the presentation where I like to go over kind of what it takes year in and year out to run this program. If you look every year, and I like to be very transparent. This is one of my things about leadership and about doing things the right way is I think you're very transparent with what you're doing so that people understand, all right, when you come to them and talk about your program, kind of what you're talking about. And our helmets, every year we buy 20 helmets. The reason we do that is because they go out of date every 10 years. So what we're trying to do through a 10-year cycle is cycle through 200 helmets. Okay, when you're talking about 160 to 180 kids, you got to have all these different sizes. You got to make sure they fit. So from a safety standpoint, we plan out buying 20 helmets so that as those go out of date, that's the average. If for some reason, when we do reconditioning every year, for those of y'all who don't realize that, we do reconditioning every single year to make sure our helmets are safe. When we do that, what happens is they go through and check all the padding, check the helmets. We had two helmets rejected this year because they found cracks within the outside structure, okay? There's multiple structures to the helmet, but the outside plastic structure. So those things get rejected. Now, because of where we are on helmets, we didn't have to buy any additional, but if you got to a year where you had 5 or 6 of those things happen, you would have to make that adjustment year in, year out. So these are what we have to do every year minimum. Shoulder pads, again, 20, all right? Same premise, trying to get at least 200. Those do come in different styles. Quarterback, OL, DL, that's on us to make sure we get the right ones. Girdles, and you can see the individual cost approximately in there. If you have further questions, I'll go into that without boring everybody with the details on that. But girdles are typically between $20 and $30. For those of y'all who are like me, and these are not the same girdles where you had to put all the pads in. Sometimes when kids first started, they got them in backwards or upside down. All right, you had to tell them, hey, come over here, go back in the bathroom, turn that. You end up putting the thigh pad on the knee and some different things like that. What this is, they pull on the girdle, and it's what we call a five-pad girdle. They have the thigh pads, all right? They have their butt pad and their hip pads all in them. Okay, so that way, only thing we have to provide additionally padding-wise is knee pads. But because all the padding is in there, we have to make sure those things year in and year out, we're checking them. The padding's not getting overly compressed, all right, that it's still protective in nature. Okay, so we buy 35 of those. A lot of the reason we can afford to buy so few is because the guys who were here before had done a good job of stocking those up. So we buy about 35 of those a year. They are fairly costly. Some of the guys, when you talk about that many numbers, some of the guys provide their own, so they have additional ones there as well. Knee pads, cost there, you can see every year 20 of those. Game undershirts. So these are, if you look at nowadays, the way the jerseys have to be cut is by rule, the way they have to be cut up. What we do is also provide an undershirt underneath. There's several reasons for this. But mainly it's hygienic, among other things. It's also from the standpoint of just the state we're trying to set for our program and the statement, the way we want to run it. So what happens with that, the reason we have to buy 200 a year is we take one of those and we send them down to the JV gets them. The varsity keeps one, and then the white ones, because those things get cut, torn, blood, that kind of stuff. We don't want to recycle them a whole lot. So we go through, the varsity will keep one, and then the next year we'll have to order that again to go underneath the pads. Those are the compressions when I say game undershirts. Game socks, all right? With that, we end up buying a couple hundred pair. We go through, let's be honest, you don't want your kids wearing somebody else's used socks and that kind of, so that's what we do to make sure, again, the uniform is put together. And then Huddle software usage every year costs us $2,000. That is, when you're looking online, we trade film now via servers. So each week when I go to trade film with our opponent, he'll send me film, I send him, there's an approval process, we go back and forth, it's stored. That's about $999 a year, and then there's an additional $900 for what you see on the sidelines. And most of you realize this at this point, but just in case there's some folks in the audience who don't know this, we can see every play 2 to 3 seconds after it's run now on the sidelines. And so those iPads and those things, that again is a user license year in, year out to use their product. They send us the hardware for free. For that yearly rental, and then they're supposed to upgrade it, which they had to this year, for us to continue to run it, all right? So that's what that is. 7-on-7 gear, that's shorts, and we do that with compressions or T-shirt that we go when we go all summer so that we're a team. Again, it's a uniform, it's our 7-on-7 uniform, whether we go to Carolina or do those things here at home, that kind of thing. The polos are $30, and when I set this slide show up, these things were actually on the same line, so I apologize about the confusion. We get 100 of those. You can see how these guys look. They're fairly sharp right now. I say fairly because everybody's not quite like they should be in their polos. Yeah, we notice, all right? But for the most part, when we do team functions, when we go places, all right, it's very clear the class of our program, the standard set in our program, and how we present ourselves. Those of y'all who went over above and beyond appreciate that as well. All right. So these are things that can happen, don't know about happening. Practice jerseys, about $20 a piece. We have 160 players in the program. Obviously, we don't reproduce all that every year, but just to give you an idea. Practice pants, $30. Game jerseys, $100. Miscellaneous items that we have to replace, cones, whistles, stopwatches. Those can vary. Our game pants, all right, game jerseys and game pants. If you've noticed, we're reproducing those with our Nike deal these last couple of years. So you go through, you have to buy all 100. All right, when you're outfitting this many players, 80 by the end of the season in playoffs, 80 to 90 guys, you're buying 100 jerseys for the different numbers. And these guys who've been brought up, the young guys especially who've been brought up, can tell you they just get whatever numbers left over by that point in the year. But those things are about $100 a piece. They do tear and rip sometimes. We had a couple of those this year that Nike is fixing for us for no charge since they're only a year old. Game pants are about $60. We're adding a set of game pants next year. Belts, which if any of you guys, I knew there used to be a lot of textiles here in Richmond County. If any of you guys know where we can find a Kelly Green, all right, football belt that is not just a net weave, please see me afterwards, because we're having the dickens of a time trying to find them. We've got some down there that are getting old, but we need a bunch of new Kellys, and we can't. Russell used to make them. They no longer make them. All right, so that used to be where everybody got them. They did discontinue that. So if you guys have any ideas, please send me. They're about $2 a piece. We can buy them in a bunch of other colors, but that didn't help us. All right. Paint machine. This is a this year thing. It is about $7,000. Like I said, the guys at Superior Crane really helped us get through the year. But a new paint machine is about $7,000. We're having to try and find places in our budget to move things around to be able to make that happen. Various chutes and pads. If you go out there, a lot of that stuff was in disrepair a couple years ago. I'm not going through the whole slideshow I did last year where I showed the differences. But when you saw those differences, those things can be really costly, especially with the cost of steel nowadays. When you're getting the chutes and all of the different implements that require so much steel and steel bases, those things can get pretty costly. The arm shields are not that much. That's why I put them, $20 to $30. All right. So additional opportunities we provided to our coaches and kids last year. Our coaches, and this is the numbers. I'm not going to go through them. You can see them if you're interested. We did provide a clinic at UGA. Our defensive staff went down there. That is not just because I'm a Bulldog fan, all right? That just made me comfortable going down there. But what it is more so was we felt defensively it fit what we were wanting to do. And obviously I think you saw the improvements in our defense going from about 23 points given up a game to about 12 this year. We worked really hard in the offseason on some things. We went to NC State's coaching clinic. Last year they offered up there. It happened to be a one-day clinic that fell on a staff development day. So it worked out perfectly. Glazier Clinic, for those of y'all who don't know what that is, I can put any of our youth coaches on that. I have unlimited numbers of coaches I can add there for $487. Don't quote me on that, but it's high fours. But what that does is there's online resources and in-person clinics you can go to all over the country. Once you sign up for the in-person clinics in the country, you only pay for your room and board there. That pass can take you anywhere. So any of our coaches, even if they want to do it on their own, on some vacation time or whatever, they can go and do that. And I've told all of our middle schools and all of any of our youth guys who want to give me their email, they can use those resources because we've already paid for that, and that'll go for the entire county, Richmond County. Okay. The North Carolina Football Coaches Association clinic's approximately $680, and that's a clinic and rooms from a Friday and a Saturday. Camps we provided for our guys last year. NC State had a one-day we took them to. UNC had a 7-on-7 we went to. UNC also had an OLDL camp. We don't like to leave the big guys out. They do too much for us, so we make sure they're going too. Western Carolina had a one-day camp in Fayetteville since it was so close. We're trying to provide those opportunities to our guys. And then, of course, we hosted several 7-on-7s versus other teams here at Richmond last year. So how did we get there? How do we afford that? How do we pay for it? Again, the transparency being that our program ad sales, which actually went down last year, I don't know if you guys realize, all of you, but the programs that they sell at the games, we sell the ads in those. Football does. And we took that over. Mr. Butler assigned that to me when we got here. I think we put a great product out, but we put the ads in there, and those sales went down a little bit, but we ended up with our printing costs going down. So we ended up right there netting a little over $10,000 that helped us pay for the camps and the clinics specifically for us last year. We got a grant. I wrote a grant with USA Football last year. Ended up getting $500 that helped us with some practice jersey needs. I've already gone online and worked on some grants through the NFL this year and through a program called Good Sports. Unfortunately, Good Sports got back to me already, and they said we're too big for their grants, but I still, took the time to write the grant for that. And Melvin Ingram actually is with the Pro Bowl. There's some grants that they're allowed that we just had to apply for. So they sent me the link for that, and we applied for that grant, and we hope to get that grant as well. Obviously, the biggest way we do that is gate receipts on a Friday night. And one of the things I want to speak about is how do we help this? How do we increase our gate receipts on a Friday night? Because I think when it's all said and done, that affects most dramatically all of our programs, not just the football program here at Richmond Senior High School. So new opportunities we want to provide this year. Again, the Glazier Coaching Clinic, which is actually next weekend. The Clemson Coaching Clinic falls on a optional teacher workday. So we want to take our guys down for that optional teacher workday. Again, Clemson just won the national championship. It's an optimal time to do that. And what a lot of you guys may or may not realize is when you go to these clinics, especially when it's a big event like this, or when they've just won, a lot of other very successful high school coaches are there as well. And you're talking about the networking and the ability to share and use ideas with each other to make us better. That grows exponentially when you go at the same time. UNC, there's an either or here. Let me skip. We have UNC 7-on-7 OLDL camp. We're possibly going to be taking our guys to $40 to $50 per kid. That's times 80 kids. You can see that jumps up in money in a hurry. That being said, I've applied to be in the Powerade 7-on-7, which is a 7-on-7. We can win $10,000 if we get in, all right? They don't let us know that until March, the first couple weeks of March. So here shortly we'll find out. If we do that, we won't be going to Chapel Hill for that 7-on-7. That'll change some things up. Coach Dillman being down in South Carolina, I think it's a great opportunity for us to go down there as well to a one-day camp. It's just about as close as anywhere else there. And so we're going to go down and obviously have our guys get an opportunity to get better there at South Carolina. But that is a much cheaper camp, you can see, too. So it's pretty fiscally responsible as well, being able to go in for $20. Game day experiences for supporters. So this is something the coaches, I cannot take credit for this. Several of our coaches have had these ideas and some things. You know, those of you who are big supporters and guys who've done, we want to make ourselves available for you to go through pregame and those types of things with us and do some of those things so that you feel part of the program. We want people to own this program. It's not about myself and the coaches and just the players. One of the reasons I think it's so important for the players to be here tonight is to see all of you guys in the community being here and to understand how tied to each other we are here in a small rural community. Youth football clinics. We're doing one March 14th from 1 to 5 o'clock. Again, that is a staff development day, and we're doing it the second half of that day. We've got our middle schools coming over, middle school coaches coming over. All of our coaches are putting on a clinic. Our ninth grade coaches are working there, working together. I'm looking for a Saturday because I understand that a lot of our youth guys can't be there because they're working jobs during the day. All right? That is open to all of our youth AAU programs, any of those things. But any of the guys who can't be there, we're looking to put a Saturday together there to make ourselves available to help teach. And not that we have so much more knowledge, but so that there's a cohesive approach to Richmond football throughout the entire county. Our leadership speakers this year, guys who have already volunteered. Mr. G. McLaurin has already volunteered to be with us. Charlie Jackson again. Mr. Ed Cox. Derwin Gray is actually a former free safety in the NFL, and he's actually a pastor over in Charlotte. He's going to Skype in with us one night. Vegas Jackson's going to come in. Mr. Belkowski's again said he would do that. And then Robbie Yao, who is at Chatley Boat and Marine, is going to come down and speak with us as well. These are things that we would like to do that, again, we've got to try and find a way, whether it's through our program ads or things of that nature, to find the money for these things going forward. New number stencils, which we need. Coach Schuler's probably not liking hearing this part of this because I said he does all the paintings things, and he's going, hold on, Coach, we need those. All right, but unless we find some money, we raise some money there in the budget, all right, those things are going to be one of those things that's kind of on the outskirts, even though they're a big need for us. We'd love to have a drone to film practice. You cannot film games in the state of North Carolina. You really can't do it anywhere with the way the restrictions are on drones. Can't film games, but it would be a great tool for us at practice. That would cost us about $1,500 for the drone and 3 batteries. Hoodies, $30 to $40 per. Well, again, that's one of those things we're trying to be fiscally responsible with everything else, the paint machine, those kind of things we're trying to do. We're going to have to try and find a way to raise the money for those hoodies next year. Y'all find out about that, too. Y'all looking around like, the hoodies, Coach? All right? Find a way to raise that money going into next year. Also, to make the Huddle sideline work even better for us, we want to try and develop a sideline TV cart. We can plug the iPad into the TVs and really be able to see from a bigger screen when we get those guys around instead of, Jarrell, come here. A lot of times the way this works now is I'm trying to show him, I'm trying to show that guy. And again, from an efficiency standpoint, if our offense scores really quick, our defense is back on the field, we may not be able to show everybody. So if we can find a way to get those TVs hooked up and a cart and a way to protect them, that's going to allow us to be more efficient with that, all right? Or I like to, if the defense gets a turnover and the offense is having to go right back out on the field. The biggest reason we're here. The biggest thing I want to share with you guys is us as coaches and the things we've talked about, our vision for this football program. I go through all those things very quickly because I know they don't interest everybody, but I think it's important. But our vision for this program, I think, is the most important thing. Because I think football is extremely important to the fabric of this country, period. But especially in our rural areas like Richmond. The newest statistics in football, too, a lot of people have been scared away by the media the last several years, but the newest statistics in football now are showing us that the injury rates are the lowest they've been. People talk about the low participation, how participation is dropping in football, but when the college coaches come here and they ask me, here is still high compared to everywhere else. But when you look at that nationally and people start talking about it dropping some, if you look at all the statistics, there's actually less males in the entire country. Less males. And I do this to dispel some of the rumors and things, the way we look at football. So proportionally, percentage-wise, yes, the participation in football has dropped. But it has dropped very closely, all right, just slightly more, with the percentage of drop in male human beings in the United States. So the reality of where we are in this game is, if you look at like just the first week of, what is it, the AAF, the new football league, who right now can't even pay their own bills, but the viewership was more than the NBA that week. People still love this game. They still love it. Guys still love to play it. And I think, as everything else, it's cyclical. As this information starts coming around and you start learning this, I think you're at a point where football is here and you're looking for an upswing. We're looking for an upswing. And so what we want to be is a cornerstone of this community. And I don't mean just from the standpoint of, hey, it's something everybody loves to do. But I mean economically and developmentally. I think when you look at us as a county, as a unit, we have the ability and the opportunity to come together and to develop something that very few communities in the state of North Carolina have the opportunity to do. There's too much division. You go to Charlotte Meck schools, and what do you see? 100 schools. We got one here. We have the opportunity for a unity of purpose, and if you look at where football is, the opportunity to generate revenue for our entire community, because we can do things others can't. We can provide opportunities others can't. People move. Parents move nowadays. If we provide a top-notch program and we do things from the youth levels and the ground levels on up together that no one else is doing, people will move into our communities looking at the jobs that are here and trying to find a way to do what's best for their kid. And a lot of that has to go with, I'm so glad some of the county commissioners and some of our elected officials are here, that has to do with the great job you guys have done setting our system up where, you know, we have the water system the way we do. All right, so that businesses can come in. We can bring. Since I've been here, I know there have been several new businesses open up. There's been manufacturing stuff expand. There's things that are going on here that we're at the right time for this place to grow. And I'm not talking about boom next month, but if we look at this over the next 10 years, football can be a cornerstone of how that economic development can take place in this county and in this community. Now, obviously, I'm very passionate about this, but how does it have that impact, I think, is the most important thing. When you look at it, football can have a lifetime skill impact. We talk with these guys, and I've told them today in the weight room, all right, that there's a standard of excellence, that when people see them, they ought to expect in this county, in this community, because they played Richmond Raider football, they know that standard. Is that going to always be the case for every individual? No. But for the majority of these kids to be able to do what they're able to do, managing their time and moving forward, it is above and beyond what the average student is capable of doing. This involves, on Friday nights, more people than anything else we can do as a school system. When you talk about the band, cheerleading, and then Thursdays and Fridays, the levels of football that are involved, we can have a greater impact, positive impact on our community than anything else we can do in the school system, just from a sheer numbers standpoint. Just from sheer numbers, if we're doing it correctly. Now, this creates a situation where, all right, coach, we're doing it correctly. What does that require? It requires an element of trust. It requires an element of supervision. All right, if I'm not trustworthy to do this and do it this way, and our coaches aren't, and I haven't done a good job of selecting coaches and them mentoring our young men, then Mr. Butler has a responsibility to fire me and find someone who is trustworthy to do this, because our community deserves such. But our economic impact also can have an experience to what's on game day, to where not just people want to move in and have that, but on game day, and you've already seen this some with the AAU tournament starting to bring folks in, all right, for football. Folks, if we get a reputation on game day, if you've got something you want to do to make the game day atmosphere and experience that much better there in the stadium, so that people, there's a rumor, all right? You know, you guys know when there's a good athlete over there, a couple counties, everybody starts here. Well, there's a rumor about, man, you got to get to Richmond. You got to see what they do on Friday nights. It's incredible. It's impressive. Other schools bring more people to gate receipts. It's simple. They do. Hey, I can't miss a Richmond game. My team might be terrible, but I can't miss a Richmond game. I got to see that. I got to see what those guys put on the field. All right? There might be a future NFL player out there too. I got to see. There's a lot of things there where we can have a positive impact here. Again, The greatest impact from a fundraising standpoint, we all get tired of fundraising in a small community. We all get tired of it, all right? And I can speak for myself wholeheartedly, but I know I'm not the only one, all right, who gets tired of that. The best thing we can do for our other sports is if every night is a 7,000 to 8,000 person game at the gates, and then for Scotland it's 10 to 12, then we don't have fundraising issues at all. And nobody has to hear that knock and look out the curtain and see if this guy's got a Raider polo on coming to ask for some money again. All right? I mean, that's just the reality of it. The last thing that I love that Raider football does, or that any football, but especially the way we want to do it, is when we do hit tough times, our kids are built for that. And therefore, our adults become built for the tough times and working through them. That's been a thing that's been really hard for me to hear in a community I've just so quickly falling in love with, and just seeing so many opportunities, is I hear people talking about what it used to be, all right? And that didn't get us anywhere. Talking about where we're headed and what we're going to do and how we're going to work together is how we're able to achieve greatness. Who are our kids? Guys, stand up right now. I'm proud of you. Stand up. These guys will have an impact on the future of this county. They will. They work too hard not to. They're hard workers. They know how to manage their time. They're learning to be better communicators, all right? And they are growing with great character. That is a developmental process. But this doesn't start in high school. Thank you, guys. Have a seat. This doesn't start in high school. We need this developmental process to also be in place in our youth leagues and our middle schools, so we can work our way up and, again, do things other people can't do because they don't have a unity of purpose. We have to establish as a community what our system of excellence is, and from the top down and the bottom up, back and forth, take care of it together. This is one of the issues I'd like for us to address while we're doing that. If any of you guys out there have said, when the brackets come out, oh man, we're going west, that is the wrong idea and the wrong attitude. We don't fear anybody. I'm going to look directly in the camera when I say that. We don't fear anybody. I'll go back to that first slide again. All right? Fearless. And if y'all start getting scared because I'm calling people out now, y'all in the wrong place. All right? But we can't. Not if we're going to be the best. Not if we're really going to expect and want to be the best. We can fear nobody. If they go west, then we got to say, all right, the west is better than the east. All right? And people will argue with that. Wake Forest won it. Top to bottom, the west was better than the east. But if we want to be the best, how do we beat the best? How do we do that? Let's address those needs and move forward together instead of copping out and finding excuses and letting our kids hear those excuses in our community. The advantages they have, total numbers within Charlotte Meck schools, all right, Winston-Salem, Greensboro areas, they got advantage in numbers. What advantages do we have? I'm kicking this dead horse as hard as I can kick it, all right? One community and the opportunity for teamwork. Teamwork is not something that is just given because we're one school and one community. It is something we have to work at together all the way through. So how do we go about it? And this is one of my favorite parts right here. Some of y'all may not even have heard this story. It's one of my favorite stories. How do we go about it? So I'm going to use this as my illustration. Julie and I started dating about 8.5 years ago, all right? And when I first started going over to Miss Melanie's house, that's her mama, and she's got the roast, right? She's cooking a roast, all right? She got this roast ready to go. It's beautiful, all right? But if you look at this pan, it's like two ends of the roast. They're cut off. I said, well, Miss Melanie, why you do that? Why you cut the two ends of the roast off? And Julie says, well, that's how I do mine too, Brian. That's how I do my roast. I said, well, you just do that because she does it. She's like, yeah. She said, well, my mama did it that way. So we had to wait a little while, see Grandmama Cashwell later on. Grandmama Cashwell says, I said, look, I got in this discussion. You know how it is, family stuff. You got to find something to talk about anyway. So I got in this discussion with Miss Melanie, and she cut these two ends of the roast off. She said, you always do that. I said, what is there? Is that a marinating thing? Or does it make it more tender? What's the deal? Why is that going on? And I'm not much of a cook, so there's a lot I know I don't understand. I figure it's just something I don't know. She said, no, honey. She said, that ain't why. I said, well, Julie says she does it too. She said, yeah, well, when we started off, Grandpa and I got together, she said, my pan wasn't but so big, I had to cut the ends off so it would fit. And the whole point of the story is, how do we go about it? Well, we got to change some things. We don't do things just because that's the way we've been doing them, all right? We got to figure out what's best. We got to get the whole roast in there, working together, all right, and get it moving forward. We got to have I think the big thing here that I want everybody to leave with is there has to be an investment in organizational and infrastructure, all right, in development, in developing our kids. When we talk about our kids coming through, they're going to be Raiders. They're going to grow up idolizing these guys. They're going to know their names, all right? And it's crazy that they do, all right? But they're going to know their names way beforehand. All of you guys can name guys you watched play, all of you, all right? Because it was important to them. So we got to invest in development in our youth ages. Now, with that, I don't know if that's recreation departments. I don't know if it's AAU. And I'm not going to pretend to sit here and tell everybody how we need to do it because, again, I can't do that by myself. But I do know it's a need, and I know we need to find a way to work together, all right, to address that need. Our middle school ages, again, we have an AAU program. We also have some middle school programs. What is the way we work those things together so that the development is at its peak instead of everybody pulling different directions and hoping that, well, we hope it works out for these kids. Let's have a cohesive strategy in place. And when they get to high school, what we're doing should have had some skeleton format coming up so that we can build on it from a framework standpoint to make these kids better. We can build on this and add to it instead of starting over. I shouldn't have to tell a kid, all right, what a zero technique is, which for you guys who don't know, that's head up the center. That's the way we call it now, all right? If we're talking about ace, that's a formation where it's 2x2 with wide receivers. They should already know what ace is by the time they get here. Things like that are things we shouldn't have to teach, and we should be able to expound and deliver, extra things and really develop our young men into great football players to where every college in the country knows. I got to go down to Richmond. They don't, because I get tired of hearing it about, and I'm from Georgia, but I get tired of hearing it, Coach, yeah, we go down to Georgia. Those guys are already prepared football players. Yeah, we go out to Texas and Florida. Well, my God, I don't care how you feel about the state of North Carolina, but in Richmond County, you come in here, these jokers know how to ball. All right, they will hit you in the face. Okay? They're football players. All right? And that has been ingrained in them from an understanding, all right? But also we need to develop that. The facilities at high school and countywide have to continue to get better, again, to be representative of where we want to take this program. No one in here has ever expected, all right, to give the bank zero or to invest zero and get money back. It has to be an investment for us. We will put money in before we ever see anything coming back and out of it. But with that, I want to give you some examples of where that has worked and where it hasn't. Brunswick County just now, and hurricanes have probably forced this, but just approved to have turf fields at their high schools. They're investing in that. So we've got competition. We have to look at that. We have competition statewide for that, for people who want to take their kids where there are opportunities. Cumberland County, I'm going to skip Colquitt for a second. Cumberland County had the opportunity with the bond referendum, I know because my uncle worked on this, to instead of putting splash pads and other things like that down, all right, to turf football fields. And instead they did something else. The only, and I did helped him do the research on this, the only place on the eastern seaboard that would have had that many turf fields where you could have run tournaments and brought in economic, other economic, this obviously isn't my job, but, impetus, I guess, is, things that would have economic impact was in Alexandria, Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C. So you could have had tournaments that you couldn't have had any other place on the eastern seaboard, and they chose something else. They chose to do something else with those funds. If you look at Colquitt County in Georgia, it is almost exactly the same size as Richmond County, and Moultrie ain't close to nothing. All right? You go out there, you think this is the Sand Hills, that's the Sand Spurs out there. All right? Okay, I mean, there's nothing out there. And I'm not necessarily a Rush Probst fan, but he came from Hoover to Colquitt, and they made an investment in that program, and they've won 2 state titles and played for another 3 since he's been there, and I think it's been 8 years now at this point. They have some of the top recruits in the country, and there are all kind of people moving in from the other rural counties around them because their program recruits itself and the people move in so that their kids can be a part of that program. All right? And I'm going to show you a little bit about Colquitt right here. That's actually Gaffney. I just like the picture because it reminds me a lot of ours in our aerial, and I just think about how nice that could be right there on a Friday night to fill all those stands up like that every time, not just the Scotland games. All right? This is Pinecrest in our conference. All right? And you say what you want about it not being a rivalry. To me, if you got something better than us, even though we're whipping your tail, all right, we're going to do what we can as a rivalry. All right? This is Colquitt. This is the indoor practice facility at Colquitt County High School. Again, same, similar size. Now, they do have some things in Georgia called a SPLOST, all right, which is a special local option sales tax that helps them fund these things. I understand there are things we would have to do differently. But this is the indoor practice facility. The great thing about this, again, we're talking about having impact on all of our sports is you can put netting up in here. You can take ground ball. Have you seen the weather the last several weeks? Soccer and baseball and softball have been suffering like crazy. With a facility like this, that would not be a problem. Obviously, it wouldn't be for football either, all right? But you have an indoor practice facility. You can look at it as a steel building. It's not like Georgia's and Clemson's and everybody else's. It's a steel building that's been turfed inside. You have roll-up doors and big fans that you're able to move the air around and keep the kids in a positive position health-wise during the heat. But if you look at that, it's not something that is, overly ornate. There's also a turf practice field out here that helps with that. So even though it may have cleared off the rain, they have done that. It'll be very easily done in the middle practice field to take it, make it turf, and put the back. I say easily done. Okay, easily. You guys know what I'm saying. All right, we got the space as opposed to having to find land. All right, middle practice field turf, and behind those practice fields, where those trees are back there, we could put an indoor practice facility back there. All right, there's room. Okay, there is room. All right, now, again, this has been done in similar communities. This is their weight room. All right, this is their weight room. So I don't think we get anywhere by dreaming small. And I understand this is a process. But I'm looking at this for, if we work this thing out, it may not be here for 10 years from now. It'd be great if it's earlier. But if we're thinking about these types of ideas and putting a big, huge vision, guys, we'll be the best in the country, not just the best in the state of North Carolina. We're the best in the country, where everybody and their brother knows who Richmond is. All right? So we got to have that kind of passion with what we're doing. Last thing I want to leave you with is kind of the year-round view of developing these football players, because we've talked about all the things from an academic, a character standpoint we're doing, but from a year-round view, I think it's important, and this is something I want our youth coaches and everybody else. I think nationwide, this needs to be a model nationwide. That's how much I think of this. Because if you look at AAU basketball, if you look at travel baseball, if you look at travel softball, all right, if you look at travel volleyball, there's a model out there for just playing year-round, and we've done it long enough now. We know it's not right. It's not the best thing for our kids. Playing multi-sports is the best thing. Development is the best thing, all right? There's nothing I hate worse, and I've talked with Coach Young about this a bunch, and guys talking about going and playing travel baseball when the instance of Tommy John surgery has gone through the roof in the major leagues because these guys have been playing so much, and they talk about playing travel baseball, and all they do is go play 2 games in the weekend, maybe 3 or 4 if you play real good, all right? And how many swings and cuts did you get all week? You might get 24. You might get 24 cuts, right, in a game. You could have stayed home and got 100 a day, right? How many ground balls did you field, especially an outfielder sitting out there? How many balls did you field during a game, all right, especially if you got a great pitcher? How many balls? You're not developing skills. So my point is there shouldn't be, notice the bottom of this, no spring football games, no spring football leagues. I don't believe in that, all right? That doesn't need to happen because we've seen it in other sports not work best for our kids. What needs to happen is we have an in-season model where what we're working on is X's and O's execution during the season. That's August to December for us. That would change timeline for other people. All season from December to April is skill development, which includes multiple sports. That is skill development. It is nervous system development to be able to deal with all different types of neuromuscular patterns and to be able to adjust and react and compete in different avenues. It also takes stress off of joints and overuse injuries because you're changing those motions and putting stress on different areas. Throwing, speed development, agility, footwork, and mostly individual position drills would be the only thing we would work football-wise during that. We are currently employing this model with our guys. That's why so many of them run track, and we only do spring development a couple days a week for about 45 minutes, and we hadn't even started it yet because we want to do it in weather where it's best for them. In the preseason, from May to July, now it's X's and O preparation. I mean, we've taken those skills, we're putting them into practice with our X's and O's, putting them together so that we're able to move forward in our drills and progress into combination routes with our blocking, multiple blocking techniques and coverages and working those things together, all while still employing, all right, the skill development skills that have gotten better. So this model, again, I think is something from a youth standpoint, from a national model, needs to really take place before our kids are developed to be their peak. We're always trying to develop, and I come at this from a strength conditioning standpoint more than anything else. My undergrad's in sports med, all right? I think it's extremely important that we're taking care of our young men if we're going to ask so much of them by developing them the best we can. So this is the state of the program address. What is the state of the program? I believe right now it is pivotal. Pivotal. Are we ready to just accept the status quo? Or are we willing to create a new vision and to invest and to move forward and create something larger and better than what we have, with the expectation that it's going to drive our entire community and better our entire community? If you would like to help in that effort, please see myself. Coach Schuler has also volunteered, Coach Hal Schuler, to help me with that. If you want to help directly with painting, things like that, please see Andy Schuler. All right, things you want to do. If you just say, hey, I've got some money I want to give to take care of some of those things, please see us. I also want to develop, in order to help this, a county-wide football committee that incorporates, where we talk, we work on this together, all levels of football, all aspects of football from the standpoint of the youth leagues, AAU, middle school, recreation, high school, so we can all get on the same page. And then, of course, the folks who are the decision makers in our community, within our county government and city governments as well. I think that's something we have to do and we have to look at doing. And again, if you're wanting to be a part of that, all right, please see myself or Coach Schuler, or expect a phone call from one of us. All right? At least to ask. You can always say no, but at least we can ask. We need that long-term vision, and we need a reason for the investment. The other thing I want you to realize and to share with folks is we have a very large social media platform that's growing every day. We're working really hard on it. All of our coaches are doing different things. A lot of the folks who gave us money last year did it anonymously. But if people want to partner as businesses, we can create things and do things from that standpoint. We give credit. But I'm not comfortable just saying, if you gave me, you knew, hey, it costs $50 for a kid to go to camp, and you gave me $50 for that kid to go to camp, I'm not comfortable putting your name out there unless you want me to do that. And that's something I need help with, something I'm not good at. But if there are folks who say, hey, I want to do this, and I want everybody to know I'm helping, we're glad to do that. All right? If you want to remain anonymous, we're glad to do that. But we do need help doing these things, and we're going to keep working at it, to continue to make this program what it can be, and to give these kids every opportunity to be the next leaders in our community. That's our schedule right there, guys. That's a graphic. I'm talking about social media stuff that Coach Campo's already done for us. And, just proud of that. If you're interested in taking a snapshot of it, if you hadn't seen it on Twitter or Facebook already, all right, please do that. I want to take the time to tell all of you, thank you so much for coming out tonight and at least investing your time tonight to be here with us. Thank you.